Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to my podcast where I share interesting takeaways and reflections from life. And I think a lot of people can learn from these lessons. So, I went to a Tony Robbins conference called Unleash the Power from Within, which was a very, very interesting conference. Anyone who doesn't know who Tony Robbins is, he's basically like the godfather of coaching, business coaching, life coaching, etc. And he's done a lot for the industry. So I went. It was a 12,000 person event, obviously through Zoom because of COVID. Normally it would be in person, but still a lot of energy. He was able to set up like a 360 um, view of all the different participants and most of the people with all like basically a huge auditorium full of people and screens. So he was able to see everyone. So it was really cool. And wanted to share with you a story that resonated with me. So he was talking about how he was coaching someone, this boy or this teenager, and he said that he would try to get him a job, and the boy was like, "Oh, I would never be able to get that job. I don't have education. I only graduated from high school." And he said, "Okay, well, tell me about yourself." And he said that he's like, "Are you in a relationship?" And the boy said, "No, there's this girl that I'm interested in, but she's much older and she's dating a guy who's much more wealthier than I am. What kind of poor broke kid like me? I would never be able to get someone like that." So he's like, "Okay, well, all right. So what about your job? If I get you this like interview, would you be able to go to the interview? I have connections." And the boy said, "No, I wouldn't be able to get that. I don't have that much education. I'm too young. I'm not experienced enough to get that job." So Tony would say, "Okay, well, so it was a very vulnerable story, and he eventually said that that boy was him." And a lot of this resonated with me because he Tony shared about how he had a friend that visited him and he was depressed, like his place was a mess, his room was a mess, like dishes weren't washed, like just drinking beer by himself, just feeling a lot of self pity. And his story definitely resonated with me because I definitely remembered the times where I've been let go from companies and I've been laid off and I was in a mess. I was depressed. I moved to Connecticut and left some of my best friends. I left Tyrone, my big brother Fung, and Kelly, which we had such a great time. And I moved to a city in Connecticut in the middle of nowhere where I knew no one, and that really messed me up. I remember I was going through some dark times and reflected a lot since then, but I definitely was out of my element, out of my comfort zone. The job was great, and it was like my first true sales job, but I remember like feeling so out of place. And the company that I worked with had people that were much older, so in a different stage of life, right? They have kids, like married, like much different place in life than me. And yeah, the conference helped me realize a lot of different things. I was just speaking with my therapist about it earlier this morning. What were my takeaways? And I would say the biggest takeaways, and I'll post everything on the podcast. But let me share my screen with you. So the takeaways for me were like see it as it is and not worse than it is. I think we all, and me including, all have a tendency to dramatize things and make it worse than the actual reality of things. For instance, like every time my manager gives me feedback, I beat myself up about it. I'm like, "Davidson, you're the worst. Like you're a horrible salesperson. Like you should not be in the career of being an account executive." And just being really, really hard on myself. And this conference, the 4-day conference from 9 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. Helped me realize because we did a lot of inner work, but it helped me realize a lot of different things. It helped me realize that here, let me pull up something. There's the there's the concept of potential action results and certainty slash belief. And I was realizing what's missing in the cycle of momentum for me was having true certainty and belief in myself and even in others. Like I've always saw like I had potential. um I've always have taken action was always the thing that I was really good at, and then results always shown. But the certainty and belief in myself is such a huge thing. And I I really enjoyed learning that because now I feel so much more certain in everything in life, like my decisions, whether it's paying $16,500 for a coaching program, whatever it is. During the time, I was always a victim of money and financial, a lot of scarcity around my financial, where my financial future lies. And really now what has shifted is just having faith that everything will be okay and everything happens for a reason. You know, I I've been fortunate enough to have gone through like a lot of adversity, for instance, like being diagnosed with asthma and having ADHD, um, you know, and being addicted to a lot of things like getting likes on social media or just always wanting to get a pat on the back. And I realized like all of this is happening for me. It happened for a reason to be able to. I just had a coaching client texted me this morning saying that he got the job at a really good tech company. And it makes me happy that if I haven't have gone through all the layoffs and all the job insecurities of like me just not doing well, I don't think I would be able to be such a good career coach or be able to empathize with a lot of people that have gone through similar situations. So I hope this inspired you. Please reach out if you have any comments, and I'll post my list of the takeaways I've learned. Um, one of the things that really resonated with me was he was talking about annihilating limiting patterns and replacing them with an empowering pattern. And this is a very extreme and very Tony Robbin-ish. But there was a guy that was smoking, and Tony said, "Do you trust me?" And he's like, "Yes." So he took the guy to the bodega or the nearest convenience store and told him to buy all 12 cartons at once. This guy was once a carton a pack a day smoker. So the guy was like, "Oh God, you're not making me smoke all of this, right?" He's like, "Yep." So he took him outside and he smoked one by one, and Tony watched him smoke, and he was struggling through like the second and third one, and then during the fourth to fifth cigarette, he's like, "I can't do this anymore. Like this is gross." And then Tony screamed in his face and said, he's like, "Smoke the fucking cigarette." So the guy was like had like he was so scared because Tony's this big 6'7", big dude, and the guy was just like crying and tears are coming down his face, and the guy was saying, "Oh my God, like I never want to smoke a cigarette in my life again." And then Tony laughed and smiled like, "Oh, okay, I believe you," and then walked away. But yeah, I thought that was such an interesting story. And yeah, the conference Unleash the Power from Within is a very I thought a very powerful 4 days and good use of time. Definitely worth the ROI. If you're curious to learn more, I'll post a link to it. And yeah, hope you enjoyed this story. And let me know if you're interested in learning more about coaching. Please reach out. Cheers.